I'm distracted by some other aspect of life that I don't particularly like, my habit in those instances has been to turn to food or to drink.
Being very mindful and then putting down the fork in between mouthfuls instead of wolfing it down under the narrative of like, I deserve this, I'm fucking hungry and I work very hard. What's on offer if I just carry that through into other parts of my day?
Really hard to suddenly say, no, you need to practice now because now you're stressed. You are fucked if the only time you're going to practice is like when life throws you a curveball. Welcome back to Live Into Your Brilliance with myself and Bilos. I'd love to explore where like food and drink and kind of just looking after yourself fits into this whole exploration that we've been on. And where it comes from for me is over the last few days, I've just become so much more mindful about what I've been eating. And like, I wouldn't say I was a horrendous eater because I love my food, but I've just become much more mindful and really kind of just focused on having 3 meals a day and having them to be like just good meals, like breakfast of a protein and like eggs and ham, and then lunch might be a salad and a chicken or whatever, and then a good evening meal, but maybe like with a sweet potato rather than like starchy potatoes and all this good stuff. But I've noticed like a real difference just in how I'm being as a result of that. And my insight, or at least my reflection of myself, has been, just how much I've realized that like I use food more than drink, but I think drink's kind of the same. I potentially use food as my numbing agent to alleviate some feelings that I might not want to deal with or be with. And that can be range from just boredom through to like the feelings of like anxiety or frustration or anger, that kind of array of emotions that actually sometimes my response to those is to eat food or to eat badly, and it does actually numb those feelings, but it makes it so much harder than to deal with life or to see life. And I've just been I just want to kind of dive into that because I think everyone kind of knows, good body, good mind, and all of that stuff. But I kind of wanted to really bring it to the surface and see what there is there, and how do you, like, what might be going on, and what habits do we not realize can be, I guess, we can deal with things in a slightly different way. So that's what I'd love to put on the table. If you're good with that, I don't know if you've got any like thoughts that you would add just in terms of framing.
No, I think this is a good one. And it's so funny how our lives are so similar without us really kind of like conversing on it. Because, I think I told you before we came on air that, coming back from Chicago, where we had a great time, I have also been very conscious about what I'm putting into my body, and and particularly going to gym as an example. Like you're quite aware of like how you fuel yourself pre and post. So it's interesting that we've both sort of been experiencing this and experimenting with it over the past week or so. And I've also noticed a massive difference in terms of how I've felt like not having a drink or just eating healthily, lots of protein and salads and stuff. But also, I think I mentioned that I just finished reading this book by Richard Rohr, who's the Franciscan monk, and sort of modern day commentator on all things spiritual. And this concept of like us being a custodian of a soul, Like, we are spiritual beings having a very human experience, and the idea that this vessel that we're in for this sort of turn around the sun is the vessel that we're in. And so if and I love and you don't have to believe this. I mean, you don't have to subscribe to this. But if you do for a moment subscribe to the delightful notion that our only task is to return the soul to God or to the creator or to the universe, or like whatever, you pick your favorite word. If your only task is to return the soul in the best possible condition, hopefully in better condition than when you set off on the journey in this vessel, then why wouldn't you look after the vessel in order to buy time to nourish the soul?
Mm.
And so that's where my mind goes. And yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I'm a class act baboon when it comes to tying one on, and and I have great fun. Like, I don't think I'm an angry drinker. I'm somebody who, I'm a hedonist. And so but
I know.
oh, but I mean, there were times when absolutely, like when things were tough at work, I would reach for the wine bottle or a glass of bourbon in the evenings, and it was not probably the best decision making that I've made. And so, but as you do slow down, and as you do observe more, and you become a little bit more thoughtful about it, you're like, well, I can still do those things. I can still enjoy those things when I want to. But if I'm honest about how I feel when I have a really good night's sleep, when I get into bed at 8:30 or 9 and I read my book and drift off and have a deep, peaceful sleep, and then get up early and go to the gym and then eat well during the day, and like, it just feels good. And then when you're slowing down, and by slowing down, I don't mean like doing fuck all. I mean noticing. So when you notice and you're aware, even if you're busy, there's a growing consciousness around what it means to be in this vessel, and the time you have in this vessel, and how important it is to look after the vessel if you're going to do the spiritual work. And so that's something that's just sort of come to me of late. And I've always kind of known it, but like, I'm like, yeah, I'll get to that, you know. But 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 now when you start to practice it, it makes sense. And it doesn't mean like living like a monk. Like, I'm not saying like, hey, do the Buddhist thing and only eat veggies and abstain from all things. Like, I don't think that sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. Not to me anyway. But I think looking after the vessel in a way that is sensible is not a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I like that metaphor. Mainly because it's just one. It's an easy one to get your head around, isn't it? Which is like, if you're going to go on any voyage, and you've only got one vessel to take you on that voyage, you would think to yourself, probably looking after it in some way, shape, or form is going to make a difference. I think what's interesting for me, though, is as well is, what if someone is not necessarily seeing it from the spiritual angle? because not everyone will, and I don't know if that's true, that our only job is to return the soul safely. Like I love the idea of that. Um, and I guess we'll all find out in some way, shape, or form. I think it's very helpful to have that perspective on seeing it as the vessel, and I can't remember exactly how you put the exploration of life, and to my mind, it's like to the extent to which you understand the nature of that vessel can really dictate the quality of the experience that you're having. And the reason I guess I go that direction is because, and I ask myself this question: if I know this, and I feel like I do, and I feel like anyone listening to a degree is going to go, yeah, that makes total sense. And yet most of us would probably look at it and go, but it's not always the habit. It's not always the habit of looking after the vessel and putting the vessel first. I often think actually we look outside of the vessel, and or we look at our thinking and we're like, oh no, I need to solve for the thinking. And I get curious with that, and that's where I go, like, what is it that I'm noticing for myself? And that's why it's interesting to me that when I'm not looking after the vessel, it's because I really think there's something up outside of myself. Like I'm distracted. I'm distracted by some other aspect of life that I don't particularly like. And my habit in those instances has been to turn to food or to drink. And the reason I point that out is because sometimes I think we go, well, what's the affirmative action? The affirmative action is to look after the vessel, and that makes sense. And I think everyone gets that. So then the question becomes for me, well, then why don't we all look after the vessel brilliantly? And I think it's because we're so distracted by something else, we don't realize that we're poking holes in our boat, and you know, we're we're sabotaging our own vessel, in order to distract ourselves away from something that looks real but often isn't, or might be real, and it's still no reason to go and sabotage the boat. And I'll give the example that will relate to you and I, which is a drinking one, not an eating one. But you and I have for now years distinguished the difference between good drinking and bad drinking.
Yeah.
Good drinking is when you and I get together and we just say, should we go to the Thieves, my local pub, and have a
Or
pint?
when you show up at my house at 9:30 at night with a bottle of Reposado tequila,
Also,
pretending that you just want to go to bed.
also true, also true. And then your good wife cracks open the bottle and shows us the way home. But it's good drinking, and um, there's no residual effect of having a pint or having a bit of tequila, because it wasn't as a salve for something. It wasn't in order to numb something. And therefore, what I've found with bad drinking is when I'm doing it to kind of make myself feel more comfortable, or I'm doing it because I've had a bad day at work and I just think I'm going to have that glass of wine, or I'm going to have a couple of beers. It kind of works temporarily, but then it almost feels like it's the gremlin. It's pouring water on the gremlin, and suddenly you realize you've now got three gremlins to deal with rather than the first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same with food. And it comes back to me as that question of, oh, okay, so what is going on there? And it made me think about our episode the other day with Sienna, uh,
Mm.
and talking about somatic therapy and being able to be with the feelings in our body rather than trying to numb them or think that they're a problem. Um, and yeah, I guess that fascinates me. fascinates me to see that the simple act of then being more mindful, in this case with my food, is having such a powerful impact on how I'm seeing every other aspect of my life.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, I don't want to, I don't want the listener to hear that, oh, well, you know, if you're if you're a prisoner to your ego and the noise in your head and you're using food or booze as a crutch, then like you're destined to be unhealthy. And if you separate from the ego and the noise in your head and you rest in the self, then you're going to be healthy and skinny and like whatever. Like I don't think that's true at all. I think what I am curious about, and I don't know the answer to, but I think there are a lot of people who rest in the self who are very comfortable and happy with their relationship to food and drink and do not look like Adonis, you know, like having a little paunch and maybe not feeling like you can run a half marathon is something that they are very happy about and very comfortable with. And so I think I think you make a really good point. I think this is not about um, the shape of the vessel necessarily. It doesn't have to cut a fine shape in the sort of misguided aesthetic of what it means to be super healthy and skinny. And I think the vessel has to be whole, whatever that means. And 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 so the the relationship we have with food and drink is, does it feed the noise or does it feed the soul?
Mm, yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. The relationship with self is the one that struck a chord for me there. Good relationship, positive relationship with the self, deep understanding of the self and how it works means you're not, when you're in that place, you're not really perturbed by the experience of life. Um, and you could just, does it feed the noise or does it feed the soul? You could apply that to anything. Because I was just thinking there about like your Adonis comment. Um, for some people listening to this, maybe their thing is like, it could be that people use gym or they use what on the face of it looks like a very healthy activity, but to also run away from their experience or to
Yeah,
not be with their experience.
yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like, does it feed the noise or does it, what was it? What did you say? Does it feed the noise
Feed the soul.
or feed the soul? And when it feeds the soul, nothing's a problem.
Yeah,
Nothing's a problem when it feeds the soul. Like, good meal, a few drinks with friends, um, hitting the gym, like whatever your thing is, if it's feeding the soul and it's coming from that joyful place, it's a whole different ball game. Whereas when it's feeding the noise, or to run away from the noise, to try and dial down the noise, it's something you got to watch out for because it means you're taking the noise very seriously.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And I can look back now and I can see instances in my professional life in particular, but maybe my personal life as well, a little bit, but certainly in my professional life, like it stands out in a very stark way. The instances where I've tried to dull the noise by reaching for the third glass of whiskey on a work night. And the story you tell yourself around it is even more fascinating. Oh, well, this will help me sleep better, and I really need sleep. And I deserve this because I've worked really hard and it's been stressful and I've been dealing with a lot of shit. Like, it's fascinating. Like, to sit quietly now and look back at that, you're like, wow, 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 wow. Versus, hey, Bilos, why did you reach for the third glass of whiskey when you and Elle were hanging out and solving the world's problems? And the answer being, because I can, and it brings me great joy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny. Like, that reminded me of an episode from way back, like DJ Ego playing its tracks.
Yeah.
Like, because that's again, like, I think, yeah, food is the one that's just top of mind for me but I can hear that voice in my head just saying, fuck it, like, fuck it, it doesn't matter. Just go have some like chocolate. It's fine. Like, you know, it'll take your mind off it. But I can actually hear the voice right now. And then that I just go, yeah, you're almost like you're right. You're right. Like, I'll do that. Make you feel better. Make you feel better. Um, Funny that, isn't it? Like, you also see how perfectly designed the ego is to kind of do its job. My job is to keep you safe and make you feel good. I'm not very good at it. Like, I'm perfectly designed to always do whatever I think is the quickest way to the answer. It's not always the best for you, but like, it will work. I think that's part of the challenge, is that it works really well. Like, the third glass of whiskey works in the moment. The the bar of Turkish delight, which is my like guilty pleasure,
Yeah.
it works really well. Like, if I'm having something going on, like, particularly if I'm in an argument with someone, which doesn't happen that often, but if I'm in an argument with Sean or with anyone, or a bit of maybe, conflict, stress at work, it works really well in the
Mm.
moment.
Mm.
It's totally distracting. It's totally
Yeah.
distracting. It kind of does alleviate it in the second. What's interesting is it works so well. You reach for the next drink, or you reach for the next snack or treat, um, and that's why, referring back to why I said, I think for me it's linked to what Cambo said about slowing down. We rarely equate the sacred pause to, like, something as benign as a bar of chocolate or whatever, but it's still the same thing. It's like taking the sacred pause to ask yourself the question: is this really in your best interests? Is this really what you want to be doing right now?
Well, what's really interesting is, and I don't know if this will resonate with the listener, but just try putting your knife and fork down between mouthfuls.
Go, like, I think I know where you're going. Just be more mindful with your eating.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so weird, and I went for breakfast this morning with Pete and another guy, and I was just mindful of putting my knife and fork down between mouthfuls while we were having the conversation, because normally I would flatten an omelet in record time, and the narrative will be, well, this is functional, and let me just rush through this meal so that we can carry on having the conversation, versus taking great delight in the omelet while having the conversation.
Mm.
and that practice of putting your knife and fork down between mouthfuls actually made me more present in the conversation.
Mm. Yeah, I like that one. Like it's like in the spirit of slowing down,
Yeah.
and even actually in the spirit of like looking after the vessel. You know, everything works better. Like when you eat slower, when you you know, it's you know, that mindful eating practice is non-trivial, not just for you to be present. It's funny how slowing down applies to almost everything. Like when you think about it, even like whether it might be a glass of whiskey, whether it's like eating, whether it's just like slow down. Slowing down probably means you enjoy everything more and need far, far less of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, hmm,
It is in the noticing that you stretch time.
hmm. I'm smiling thinking about some people I know and what they might say listening to this.
Maybe like these two have fucking smoked a reefer before coming on air.
Yeah. I can hear someone saying something like, oh, you just need to enjoy life. Life's there for living. You just need to enjoy life. And, kind of that, yeah, like you don't need any of this. Just enjoy life. Funny that, like, and I wonder about that. I do wonder about that. They're probably, yeah. I'm not saying they're wrong. It just popped into my head. Oh, you guys just need to relax. You just need to enjoy life. Like you're overthinking this. It's not that. There's nothing wrong with having a few beers in the evening. And I don't think we're saying there's anything right or wrong in this. But I'm curious as to your reaction as to why, and this is my perception, why some people would push back against this exploration. Because I feel that they do. I feel that they do. Um,
No, I mean, my immediate reaction would be I like drinking doesn't mean you enjoy life. In many instances, if people are honest, drinking is something they rush to because they are not finding peace and love and quiet. And so to your point, it does numb for a while. And so we think, oh well, if we could only just achieve that state like all of the time, and maybe in order to achieve it all of the time, you just got to drink all of the time. Like that's just the way life is, and that's fine. Like if that's your attitude, my counter to that, having done both, is there is great joy in not drinking,
mm,
and then when you do have a drink, there is great joy in having that drink if it's happy drinking.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so like I think the very thing we are searching for is already there, and in slowing down and looking and observing, you find it. And then when you go and have a drink with a mate, like an ice cold beer on a warm summer's day, or a lovely juicy bottle of red wine with your loved one, or with mates around a dinner party, or a lovely cocktail in the evening, like it is magical. But when you come home from work and you're not home, and then you reach for that drink because you just need to numb, it brings great suffering.
Yeah, I think that's what you said there is really telling, spot on. There's great joy in not, and there's great in not doing something, there's great joy in doing something. Being almost over rotated into the idea that it has to be one or the other, or that is not a great place to be. Because I think that's the narrative that I was listening to from my imaginary people in my head, is an unwillingness to be in a world where that's not happening. An unwillingness to be in the space of like no drinking or like really healthy living, um, under the guise of, well, that's not enjoying life.
Yeah, I mean, look, quite a simple human being, and so you will never convince me that a pint of Guinness is not divine. And so I will never stop drinking Guinness ever. Right? That like there nothing brings me more joy than being with Vanny or a group of friends or a good mate, finding a cozy bar, sitting up at the bar and asking for a pint of Guinness and having it well poured, put in front of you, and then that glorious first sip. Like that is, I hope heaven has a lot of Guinness. But I also take great joy in not needing a Guinness every day of my life. And so when I do have Guinness, I get excited because I know what's coming and it's the best feeling in the world.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
And I still get it wrong.
For sure. Or you don't get it wrong because you can't get it wrong.
Sure. But exactly, it's the perfect unfolding. But I'll give you an example. Like last night, Gracie was home and we've been eating really healthily this week. And Vanny made this amazing meal. Actually, Gracie and Vanny made this amazing meal, where we had acorn squash, we had this lovely salad, and we had this turkey, organic turkey, sort of mince with shallots and peppers and mushrooms. It was gorgeous, super healthy, great protein, great veggies, and but I was hungry because I'd done a big gym session in the morning and I'd been working all day and sort of snacking a bit, but no real kind of like meal, and hadn't particularly been very mindful of anything food related. And then the meal came out and I, like Vanny said, please help yourself first. And I normally wait till last. So I got stuck in and then sat down and immediately put a mouthful of food in my mouth without waiting for the girls to come and join me. And then just being aware that, like, unfortunately I caught myself before Vanny said, hey, why don't you wait for Gracie? But caught myself and I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because I actually do quite enjoy that feeling of being slightly hungry, knowing that something very tasty and very cool is coming, and just being content enough to just wait till the girls have sat down, and then we all eat together, take the first mouthful together, and being very mindful, and then putting down the fork in between mouthfuls instead of wolfing it down under the narrative of like, I deserve this, I'm fucking hungry and I work very hard.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's all the practice. It's all the practice and choosing where you put your attention. That's what I think in this whole piece. That's what's been kind of, I think this is what the big reminder for me is. It's like the practice is everywhere. And the more you practice with the small, almost inconsequential stuff, like that example, and I am saying like that's small and inconsequential. I know Gracie and Fanny would not have been that bothered if you'd had your first mouthful of food, but your practice to go like, no, like I can be with hunger for another 25 seconds and be not just be with it but enjoy it, and then enjoy the moment of, and just that practice allows all the other practices to become more similar to that simple exercise. And that's what I mean. I think for me, the practice of being mindful of my food has made me so much more mindful everywhere else in the last few days, because I'm practicing mindfulness on something that doesn't require. It's not that important. It's not like I eat like a pig. It's not like I'm, there's no problem. But just being mindful there is having so much more of a benefit out of everywhere else. And I think it's just a double hit because physically I'm feeling much better. So I'm practicing physical well-being, but I'm also practicing being more mindful about something that in the grand scheme of things means nothing. So then when I'm on like an SLT call, which I was just before this, definitely noticed I was like much more mindful, like slowed down, communicating what I needed to communicate, but not being, it wasn't particularly stressful call, but we were talking about some important stuff, or we think it's important. um, but isn't that interesting to look at like the practice of putting your knife and fork down between mouthfuls, or, waiting for everyone to sit down, or just 3 meals a day, no snacking, like just being mindful of hunger but not reacting to it, is the perfect practice for what you will probably need when moments of anxiety might hit, or moments of stress, and being able to just practice then, oh, this is just the same.
Yeah. And this is what I mean by stretching time. What I'm noticing is, so like take that meeting that you just referenced. Let's say that meeting was between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. So it didn't occupy more time physically in the linear sense of time, but in the spatial sense of time, you had more time, because the ability to be more present, to actually understand what was being said, to listen deeply and react from there, versus an overwhelming sense of noise that just maintained a level of frequency in your body akin to anxiety about, oh my God, I wish this meeting would be over because I've got so much to do. And so you seem to stretch time in this beautiful way, in without without taking more time. And I think what you said there is such an important thing, mate. Like, and I'm not a I have not mastered this in any way. But it's a wonderful pursuit. Is when you do something as simple as wait mindfully or consciously wait to start your meal with your family, or consciously put your fork down between each mouthful and chew it so that your poor old stomach doesn't have to try and break down a giant fucking piece of steak that you haven't chewed properly. Um, then you are fueling the delight. You're noticing the delight of doing that. And the more you rest in that place, the more the great joy and wonder of being in this world. And you have weird thoughts like, how lucky am I to be eating this incredibly tasty meal with my family? Like 13.8 billion years had to happen for me to be sitting at this table eating this meal right now with these amazing people. And so you have these weird insights. And then you say, well, if from that simple action I can derive that great sense of wonder, then what's on offer if I just carry that through into other parts of my day? And then you start to string together these incidents and these moments of noticing. And to your point, you're not distracted. You're just you're just there, and you're still getting everything done, and you're still experiencing hard stuff. Your wife still has cancer. Your wife has still gone through surgery. Your mate is going through a divorce. You know, whatever's going on, but you're able to stretch time and peer in between the gaps and move more freely because you're coming from that place, and that makes all the difference.
Mm. Wow, that's well said. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it as the idea of stretching time. To me, it felt in like as you were talking there, it was more like time kind of goes away, which I guess is the same sense, but it's the power of presence and practicing presence. Um, you know, I can't remember the expression, but it's like practicing in the good times, so it's easy in the tough times.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what's really coming home to me. It's really hard to suddenly say to go, no, you need to practice now because now you're stressed or now you've had a tough day. So now you need to practice mindfulness and be aware of your thinking and really tune into your feelings. And I'm like, you are fucked if the only time you're going to practice is like when life throws you a curveball.
No.
You know, good luck, baby. Like you're not going to be fit for purpose.
Yeah.
The practice is, you know, at meal times with family. The practice is eating your breakfast on your own. Your practice is putting down the knife and fork. The practice is it's everywhere, and it's just seeing. Like I really think it's seeing that taking, as you would say, taking great joy in the practice, the simple practices, and taking joy in the delight of living in these small moments is the perfect practice to then allow you um, to be in to then know that you can lean into that when life does throw you a curveball and you go, okay, like I'm just going to practice putting my knife and fork down between bites of food. You come back to that thing and it's the same thing. You practice getting present. You practice slowing down because you know that life is sometimes feels chaotic. Um, and that's the lesson, I think. I think we all, that's a massive generalization. I think the societal conditioning is, hey, you need to learn to do this for when the times are tough.
Yeah.
And I just think that's bullshit. It's like, no, it's nothing to do with when the times are tough. It's just like, this is a great way to live. And then when tough times come calling, like your wife having cancer, your wife having an operation, whatever it is, your practice will be what you'll lean on. Practice is there to support you then, and you go, I'll just lean into my practice. Like, and you know, for you and I are on a kind of spiritual exploration, our own different versions of it. But you know, whatever your faith is or wherever that is, I think that is what I think ultimately, whether it's Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, it's all kind of pointing to the same place. It's like if you can lean into the practice of what's on offer in life, you know, that is in many ways the art of living and not buying into um, I don't know, the marketing that's fed to you that no, you know, like joy lives in a bottle, joy lives in a bar, joy lives in whatever. It's like, no, it doesn't live in there, but you can take great joy in a pint of Guinness. You can take great joy in that by just being present to it in the same way as you can to anything else. But and I know we're throwing in lots of things that have come up in previous episodes, but it comes back to that simple thing. If it has you or you have it, and when you have it, there's great joy in everything. When it has you, yeah, it's not ideal.
Mm. Mm.
So, mate, what's your bumper sticker for life for this exploration?
It's a bit cheesy, but it's the one that came up. Is take great joy in food and drink. Do not eat and drink to seek joy.
Mm. Well, like I think, yeah, no, I think that's cool. I might even shorten that one down. Take joy, don't seek joy. Whatever it is, like food and drink. But I think for me, I really like that. Take joy in rather than seek joy in. Funny, isn't it? Like so true. That's I love that one. That doesn't feel cheesy. It just feels like it's such a cool distinction. Are you taking joy in that pint of Guinness? Or are you looking for joy in that pint of Guinness? Are you taking joy in this or are you seeking joy? Same with presence. Like don't think that like I've got to seek joy in the presence. It's like no, take joy in the present, whatever that is. Oh, fucking hell, you're wise, aren't you? Wise. Look at you. But it's a good job I'm here just to clip out some of the words and make it even
Well, if you
more.
believe that, mate, A, I love you, and B, there's a lot you still have to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning still to be had. Anyway, well, this has been cool, man. That actually, I know I'm taking the piss, but that actually really resonates with me. I'm gonna, it kind of, it's the perfect bow on the Cambo insight from last week or a couple of weeks ago. It's like slow down and take joy in getting lost, rather than slow down and seek joy in getting lost. It's totally different,
Mm.
and it's only one word, but it makes a hell of a lot of difference. And I do love you, whether you're wise or not. I do love you.
Love you too, man.
I'm not very good at doing those heart emojis. There we go. Got it back. All right, brother. Well, listen, that's a wrap for this one. I think Bilos has left us in the perfect place. So wherever you are, whatever you are doing, take great joy in being there and doing it. And we will be with you next week. And until then, go forth, live into your brilliance.